All right, welcome back to the Dirt Road. This is Rick.
Hey, that's Mike. What's up, babe?
What's going on? There's
How are
our
you?
farm back here.
Love that farm.
I know, it's hidden. You'll never find it.
What's happening, YouTube? How are you guys out there today? Thanks for watching.
Rumble and everywhere you get your podcasts, where we've got it up everywhere, so you can listen or watch wherever you prefer. Rumble,
can do that.
YouTube. I post it to my X account. I post it to Facebook. I post it to all the social media channels. So it's out there. You know,
I guess
it's out
we'll have
there.
Lauren link to all that stuff, but I don't know how to use any of that stuff. I only know how to use YouTube, and I could barely do that, Mike, but here we are.
Here we are.
Anyway, welcome to our weekly headlines. What's today's date?
August 21st.
August 21st. So this is our weekly headlines where we each give each other 5 headlines. We do it in 2 parts.
Yep.
The other guy doesn't know which headlines we're bringing up, so we just get a raw reaction. And of course, we'd love your reaction right down there. So comment when you hear these headlines and things going on in the news and our raw reactions to them. Let us know. Let us know if we're wrong, if we're right, if you agree, if you disagree, and let's have some fun with it. We'll shout you out. We just shouted out a couple of our commenters on the last video.
Yes, we did.
And we will continue to do that as long as we can. But hopefully, Mike, pretty soon we'll have so many comments that we won't even be able to read them all.
As soon as I make 18,000 additional accounts, we're going to have too many comments. Yes.
That's it. And then we'll just we'll have to hire somebody to read your fake accounts. And,
read my fake accounts.
And that'll be that. Anyway, so our weekly headlines for this week. Mike, I'm going first, you said?
You're going first.
All right, so I'm going to give Mike 5 things that interested me this week. We'll see what his reactions are. And again, please, let's make this, what do you
give
call
us
it?
your reactions. Let's make this interactive.
Interactive.
Right?
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, interactive. Let's give us your reactions to the articles that Rick's throwing out.
You have a good vocabulary. You came up with that word. I couldn't even think of it.
Sometimes my brain kicks in and works again. Not always, but every now and again.
All right, so Mike, headline number 1, and unfortunately, by the time this video airs, this could either be something that happened or didn't happen, because right now it's just a kind of a rumor, but it looks like it's going to happen because Bobby Kennedy, my boy, is set to make an announcement to the public on Friday.
Yeah.
And apparently he's going to be dropping out of the race. That seems like an almost definite. Otherwise, what the hell would he be doing an announcement on?
Mm-hmm.
But what we don't know yet, but we will know by the time this video airs, is he going to endorse your boy, Donald Trump? But either way, it looks like Bobby Kennedy's getting out of the race. I find that very sad. I thought he was going to be a pretty productive third-party candidate. I didn't think he was going to win, but I thought he could at least shake things up. Anyway, so...
He did. I mean, he accomplished that goal, I think, though, at the very least. He got a very, very, very good conversation going amongst, people who aren't completely to one side or the other, right? So those people who are maybe in the middle, those people who are maybe trying to be reasonable still, he definitely kind of appealed to those people and got this conversation going about everything from... governance to, vaccines to just about everything.
Well, that's what I liked about him.
Sharp guy.
Personally.
Sharp guy.
But
Really
my
smart
headline
guy.
is really Trump's reaction. So I saw Trump on TV today. Now, when Bobby was looking like he might be a threat to Trump, Trump called him a left-wing lunatic or something to that extent a couple of weeks ago.
Right, yeah.
Today, Trump was saying how much he admires him and what an intelligent guy he is and a great guy. And it looks like if he does drop out and endorse Trump, that he'll have some sort of a role in the cabinet, which I would like. Anyway,
actually, I would like that too.
Would you?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how do you think this is going to affect the race? Is it going to affect the race? Is this a non-issue? Is this a non-stop? Is it, is this something?
I think there's a, I think Bobby Kennedy's going to carry at least a couple of points in the race. So if he drops out and he endorses Trump on Friday, I think you'll see a 2 or 3 point bump up for Trump. I think he carries some weight.
So you think the few that are left him, because he's lost a ton of stuff. I mean, he went from about 18% down to about 4%. You think those 4% are mostly Trump as their second choice after Bobby?
Yeah, I think so.
What makes you think that?
A number of reasons, but mostly because Bobby Kennedy, at the very end of the day, I mean, he's left on a lot of policies. I don't agree with him, obviously, but he's honest. He was trying to run an honest race, and he was trying to bring about an honest conversation. He was saying, listen, let's get back to actually bringing our country back together again and moving forward as a nation and not just as a group or as a group, So I think that 4% that are sticking with him truly believe in that, And if he steps back and says, wait a minute, I can't do this. Obviously, I don't have enough to get there, but this guy does, and I'm endorsing him. those people are going to follow him. They're going to say, if this is good enough for him, it's good enough for us. And you're going to get that core group of people that are following him, still that 4% core group. They're going to follow him to the candidate. So it's a 4-point bump right there for.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Obviously, I was interested in your reaction. I really don't know. Obviously, it remains to be seen. I do think that the one thing that Bobby Kennedy supporters like myself and Trump supporters like myself have in common is that they want to see a shakeup. They want to see
a wrecking
bull in a china shop.
Absolutely, and it's needed. It's needed.
Yeah.
So how do you fix a system like this with this amount of corruption, this amount of stuff going on, this amount of just way outside the box, just authoritarian mandates and just attacks on people? I mean, look at the lawfare against Trump, right? Take all the politics out of it. That is the most Stalinist thing that's happened in this country probably in 100 years. Mm-hmm. It's insane, but I think that's actually the unifying principle right now for Trump is that the other side has become so authoritarian that even people who don't like Trump or even might even like his policies for the most part are saying, listen, we have to tip the scale back the other way.
Yeah, and in politics it's weird, right? Because there's an expression, politics makes strange bedfellows, right?
Sure.
So I believed in 2016 that if Trump couldn't win, I wanted Bernie Sanders as the other choice, not Hillary Clinton, because as left-wing as Bernie Sanders is, at that time, I think he's sold out now, but at that time, I thought he also was a very anti-establishment. He had that anger in him. He got fucked out of the primary there.
Well, they screwed him hard.
So if Trump was going to, because in 2016, I backed Trump with all my heart, right from the beginning, by the way. I had a MAGA hat in summer 2015, and somewhere out there on the internet, Mike, is a video of me. You could ask my wife and my kids. There's a video of me at the New Hampshire State Fair in 2015 with a Make America Great Again hat, arguing with Chris Christie. He was there campaigning. And
Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, and that was when he was still in the race before he backed out and endorsed Trump. Maybe I convinced him. Maybe I was the one that got Chris Christie to back out and endorse Trump in 2016. Who knows? But I was one of the original.
Never won any race.
But I think that Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Bobby Kennedy, they have disparate.
They're outliers.
Yeah, and they have disparate policies. They're
completely
similar.
different people. Yeah.
But the one thing that they do have in common, all of them, is this antipathy. Not antipathy. I'm sorry. What would be the word? Just like a hatred almost of the establishment, whether that establishment be the political establishment, the corporate establishment, and they want to do something about it. Bobby Kennedy's father, again, politics makes strange bedfellows. Even though he was a big civil rights supporter himself by that time, a lot of people don't know this, but Bobby Kennedy and Jack Kennedy at the beginning, they were kind of hesitant on civil rights, and they were kind of about Martin Luther King. Things changed, after, as the civil rights movement got going and Bobby Kennedy became really much involved in it. But it's kind of strange because, and this is a fact, when Bobby Kennedy got killed, a very substantial portion of his supporters went to Wallace, who was a segregationist.
Yeah.
So it's not even sometimes about the philosophies or politics. It's more about the messenger and about, because Bobby Kennedy Sr. at that time was also somebody who was going to shake up government, right? He was going to shake things up. And George Wallace had that besides the racist part of him, he also had the populist, anti-establishment part to him.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird thing. And now we have here, two generations later, Bobby Kennedy Jr., a lot of his supporters, and like you said, he's a left-wing guy,
he's left.
May actually go to Trump.
Yeah.
Even though they may disagree with him on some of those issues, but it's about the bull in the china shop.
It's about the energy.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a kind of interesting phenomenon, And
I think it's about energy. I think the populism really comes down to being that candidate who has A, the energy, to kind of get people fired up, and B, the timing, how bad are things, or what are people really, really frustrated with? If things are going good, nobody wants to bull in a china shop when things are working,
Right.
When things are smooth, nobody wants that. They don't want to tear down things that work. But, when you have things as bad as they are now, and you have such a dramatic disparity between, like, the Trump years and the Biden years now, things are so vastly different. It makes it very, very obvious for people. Wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't how it should be. and that opens the door to that populist candidate like Trump
Sure.
to come in and smash everything.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think maybe you're right. And Junior's he doesn't have nearly the type of following his father had, but he does have a following. And if they do go over to Trump, that same irony of Bobby Kennedy Sr. supporters going over to George Wallace. And no, I'm not calling Trump a racist like George Wallace. I'm just using an analogy of a political phenomenon. And then to have Bobby Kennedy Jr. supporters going for Trump, even though they're on opposite sides of the spectrum on many issues.
They're very politically, yeah. I mean, a lot of the issues they are.
Yeah.
A lot of the issues they are very, very far apart.
Yeah, especially economic issues and environmental issues, maybe. But
yeah,
we'll see.
that's probably the two big ones. Absolutely.
We'll see. All right. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, by the time this comes
Give us
out,
your reaction to
we'll
it,
know
yeah.
if he endorsed them or not. But either way, it's kind of.
Let us know your reaction on it. Let us know what you think and what you see kind of coming down the road.
I think it's sad that he's dropping out, though. I think we need a third person in there.
I like
kind
the idea of
things up.
third-party candidates, kind of breaking things up a bit, and maybe making things a little bit more competitive, maybe making things a little more honest.
Yeah.
All
right, headline, and again, comment down below what you guys think of Bobby dropping out of the race, and then I will support Trump if he does.
I know.
I'll vote for Trump.
I know you will.
All right. Anyway, second headline. So this we're taping this on a Wednesday. We're going to do an episode on the DNC once it's over.
Yeah, when it's completely.
But on Monday, our president. We do have a president, by the way. Did you guys know that out there? We actually have somebody as a president right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's that guy that's always on vacation.
It's the guy you see once in a while. They wheel him out. I don't know.
He stumbles out, poops his pants, mumbles some stuff.
On Monday night at the DNC. Now, at first I thought Monday night was a snub, but then I had found out that outgoing presidents usually do get the Monday night. They said that Reagan got the Monday night, Bill Clinton got the Monday night. But so maybe the Monday night's not an issue, but what was an issue is, the networks only come on from 10 to 11, right? And that's they'll stay, but that's the prime time.
Yeah.
Right? You got me doing air quotes now all the time. That's the prime time slot, and I was dozing off, but I watched some of it. But Biden apparently got pushed back almost to 11 o'clock before he started.
11:30 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and he was still going on somewhere
after
around midnight.
After midnight, he was done after midnight.
So I was wondering your thoughts. You think that's intentional? Because remember, J.D. Vance was kind of pushed back because Donald Trump Jr. wouldn't shut the fuck up. Remember I got mad at that? And Vance didn't come on until like 10:45 or something. So I don't know. Do you think that was really a slap in the face, or do you think it was just what it was? Or what do you think?
I think they were trying to limit the amount of exposure that Biden got, in his speech, because they knew he was going to tag them, and he did. He tagged them. He tied her directly to policies that she's trying to, like, everything possible to distance herself from. And he kind of roped her and Walzo both right back into all those policies. Mm-hmm. So, look, Biden, as big as a disaster as he is, the man spent 50 years in government. He knows the buttons. He knows how things work. He knows where all the bodies are. He knows how to tie someone to a policy, obviously.
Yeah, but he became one of the bodies. They killed him.
Oh, no, they bodied him. No, they bodied him. Listen, Pelosi and Schumer and them, they got together and they were like, "You're done, dude," and they bodied his ass without a doubt. But you know what? Like a samurai, right? Samurai are trained that even when they've taken a killing blow, whatever, they can do one final blow and kill their opponent, whatever. That's kind of what Biden did. That was like his samurai moment, He went up there, he gave his farewell speech, and he kind of tagged them with some bullshit before he left.
So you're saying you think that they anticipated that?
I think they purposely pushed him back because they were expecting him to probably be a little bit bitter, and also a little bit rambling and confused, because obviously, look, the guy's cognitively declining. That's obvious.
But he's been a bitter old bastard since the day he got elected.
Oh, do you remember the Dark Brandon speech?
Yeah,
that was epic.
He's been a bitter, nasty
Brandon.
son of a bitch from the time he got into the White House. Now the only difference is he's a senile, rambling, nasty, bitter son of a bitch.
I think he was probably a bitter, nasty son of a bitch his entire life, honestly. I think he's a very selfish, sick man. But
he came across as an amiable, everyman sort of guy when he was in the Senate.
He did I'm just like you bullshit all those years.
Yeah, when Romney would put on a flannel shirt and jeans.
Romney.
I love when especially the Republican corporatist ones, when they put on the flannel and the jeans. They think they're fucking fooling anybody. Like
The shit's like pressed perfectly, you know. You're like, come on, guy.
look at me, I'm wearing a flannel shirt. I'm just like you.
If this guy actually took a walk in the woods, he'd die of fucking shock, you know. Like, get out of here with the nonsense.
So you think they anticipated that Biden was gonna?
I think they were worried about what he might say.
Bit?
I think they were worried about what he was going to say or how he was going to approach it. And they knew they couldn't totally control it, and they were like, you know what, let's push him back.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that.
I think it was. I mean, the Democrat Party. One thing they do well is strategy, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Up until recently. Recently, they've been kind of flubbing the ball a bit, but overall, if you look back over the years, they're great with strategy. They're great at framing the narrative. They're great at getting their messaging out. They're
getting out the
great
votes.
at getting the vote out.
Even the legitimate votes. I mean, they're good at getting out the vote.
Well, not the graveyard vote and the illegal alien vote and everybody else. Yeah, no. Look, I mean, but they do. They get their people moving.
Sure.
They organize. They get their people moving. They get their people motivated. They get them on board with the narrative. And they say, look, these are our talking points, and this is what we have to focus on right now. And everybody gets on board, and they go.
Yeah, well, you saw it with the weird, right? When they came up with the word weird to describe Trump
J.D.
events.
Vance is weird. Like, yeah, okay. He's a guy who served, built his own life, built his own, like, amazing life, came from really horrible circumstances.
But they all got the text because they all were using that word. I mean, throughout the Sunday shows.
Well, yeah, but you can. Yeah, well, the media gets it, right? Because the media is just the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party right now. So.
And we should do a whole video on media bias and everything.
We could do that. We could probably do hundreds of videos on that.
All right,
yeah,
so
we could definitely do that.
That's headline number 2. That's Mike's take. I really do try to shut up and get your take, but sometimes I just can't help it.
No, it's fine. The conversation is what I think drives us.
Yeah, but these headlines are supposed to. Yes,
we want to hear your thoughts. We want you to comment down below and let us know what you're thinking. Okay, tell us what you think. Tell us whether you agree, you disagree. Why you think Rick is.
Wrong.
A turd, whatever it is. Just let us know.
Ben Shapiro for years now has been calling Joe Biden President Houseplant. That is just the
perfect.
Perfect.
That's perfect.
But he's been saying this for 3 years. All of a sudden the media caught up. He was
never really in charge.
No, he wasn't. But I just thought Ben Shapiro's a funny dude. I think he's lost his fucking mind over Israel lately, but...
Well, I mean,
he's a good dude.
That's the hill he's going to die on because that's what he's most invested
absolutely.
in.
Okay. He's a good dude. But when he called him President Houseplant, I think that's fucking
that's just perfect. Like, you know what? They let Biden sit at the desk and play with the pens and stuff, and every now and again he gets to play with somebody important. And for the most part, he's not doing a damn thing.
Yeah, well, I don't feel bad for him anymore.
No, I never did.
All right, so that's headline number 2. Headline number 3.
Whoa.
And I know we're going to do a whole video on this at some point, the topic overall.
Okay.
But at the Democratic National Convention, they apparently were giving away free vasectomies.
Ooh.
And that's laughable. The one that's not laughable was their abortion mobile. Did you see about this?
I saw about that. I saw the woman in the T-shirt that I've had 21 abortions, and she's proud of this.
So... I mean, I think I know what your thoughts are, but I don't know how you're going to articulate it. So, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, not abortion in general. We're going to do a video on that maybe, but
just the DNC doing this.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, did the DNC actually sponsor it, or did Planned Parenthood just kind of on their own decide?
I think Planned Parenthood kind of planted it there to kind of.
The DNC had to give them permission, right?
It's at the DNC site, so I'm guessing they had to give permission. Or at least they were. I mean. Tacitly aware. They had to be aware of it, right? They had to know it was going to be there. Like, there has to be some kind of approval process. I'm sure you can't just drop something there,
I would assume. So what are your thoughts on it? I'll shut up. I'll even vape so I know I don't talk over you.
I think this is just further proof that the death cult is real and that these people are absolutely morally bankrupt, How committed to the murder of children do you have to be to say, hey, here's our national, party, committee, nominating committee, whatever, event, right? This is a week-long event. It's all based upon the party and our policy goals and things like that. And realistically, abortion is one piece of one policy, and this is what you make it about. Like, this is what you focus in on. This is what you think is going to be the hot-button issue for Americans as a whole.
Well, what about the whole giving out the abortion pill for free there, and apparently 25 women took them up on it. I mean, it's just like the whole thing there in general.
It's a sickness. It's a sickness in their souls, right? These people are sick in their souls. These are narcissistic, bitter, hateful people, right? Look, you can go online, and you find these people, these internet trolls or whatever, these people on like any social media platform, they're there. These hateful, nasty people who just can't stand anything or any kind of good thing in the world, and they shit on everything they see. And then there's people who just embrace hedonism at every level, because it's easier, right? Like, it's easier to be evil than it is to be good.
But why do the Democrats? This is what I don't understand. Like the Democrats from when we were younger. I mean, we were grown men, but we were younger. Of Mario Cuomo, giving his bullshit that he hates it personally, but he doesn't want to impose his values.
Right.
And then you
right.
had Clinton with
Pandering,
his
yeah.
safe, legal, and rare. Like they didn't promote. At least they didn't promote it back then. As a good thing. It almost seems now like the Democratic Party, instead of saying, well, this is a hard... Remember how they used to say this is the most hardest decision a woman could make, and this is a very personal thing, and it's a tragedy, but people should have the right, and all of that sort of stuff. And now they've just... I guess maybe they're being more honest now. Because that was bullshit. So now maybe they're just being more honest, and to them this is a good thing. Abortion is... You have an abortion, like a pregnancy is a disease, and here's the cure.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how they look at it, right? It's a hindrance, Think about it when they talk about it in the terms of we're helping these, women who would be single moms otherwise. Like this is some kind of a hindrance. Like motherhood is somehow a hindrance to them, achieving these great things. What? By living alone with your cats because you spent your whole life miserable, doing miserable jobs.
Are you doing the J.D. Vance cat lady thing?
I think he's absolutely right about that. Listen, you know what? I find it absolutely reprehensible and disgusting, and I think that this is just, this is a culmination point, right? So they've spent decades pushing the ball down the field, and every, few years or so, you'd see the narrative became just a little bit more, 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 until finally now we've achieved a point where, there's no such thing as gender, and let's suck every innocent child out of every womb we can, Yeah.
But to promote it as a good thing, I mean, first of all, single moms are heroes. I mean, you have moms that go out there raising 3 kids. They go out there work 3 jobs. Single dads too, of course.
I know a bunch of them.
But obviously, it's the mother who gives birth to them, so it's the mother who would have the abortion or not. But I don't know. I guess we're going to do a whole video on it. But I just thought it was just a disgusting thing to have at the DNC.
Well, I think it's very telling about where they are as a party right now. How really, really. But I mean, look what else you have at the DNC. You've got all the pro-Hamas protesters out there, Gays for Hamas because we like being thrown out of buildings.
Yeah, but they're actually protesting against the Democrats,
I know, that's what I find hysterical. Yeah. Their party is very fractured right now, and I think this is just one. I think this is one point where they kind of missed the mark, right? I think they doubled down on abortion, like abortion was the hot button issue, which it really isn't the issue they think it is, but they're trying to make it that issue,
Well, they are making, and it may work. We talked about this in our last video. I mean, it's on a lot of state ballots right now, and it's going to bring out the more activist.
The single issue voters. I mean, listen, the single issue voters will come out and vote for that stuff, absolutely. But I don't know that you move the needle that much with it. Yeah. But I mean, I think it's just a symptom, like we talked about, like a symptom of a larger problem. Sure. I find it reprehensible, but I think that this just kind of showcases. If you look at the Democrat platform that they put out during the DNC about we'll talk about this in detail, but their whole platform, it's basically what you would expect,
Well, when the DNC's over, we're definitely going to do a video on it.
Probably going to do a longer video on that one, because it's going to be a lot to take in and kind of break down.
But I just thought it was, I'll be nice and just say in bad taste. I mean,
you say it's friggin' disgusting.
I mean, the vasectomy thing was like stupid.
Well, the vasectomy thing is just ridiculous. Yeah, I'm getting a vasectomy. Good for you. Who cares? Now you can't pollute the gene pool, asshole. Just, you know what? Thank you. I'll pay. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I think that's a good one to end that portion on. That was perfect. All right. Next. So, I wrote it down here. I just want to make sure that I get it right. So, your boy Trump, he made a speech today, yesterday. And he made a point. I think I know where you stand on it, but I just wanted to read this to you.
Okay.
All right. So Trump said, and I quote, "The world was safe when I was president. Now the world is on fire, and Kamala and Biden have marched us to the brink of World War III." Hyperbole, politics, or true?
True. Because look, you got Israel's getting ready to go to war with Iran. They're already at war in Gaza, and they're getting ready to go into an actual ground conflict with Iran. They're already trading missiles back and forth, right, and shots back and forth. They basically just got to up their game and commit troops to it now. That's basically where they're at. Ukraine is a complete quagmire disaster. You've got the rearming of Japan. You've got the rearming of a lot of nations in NATO that nobody...
Well, that's because of their fear of China. Japan is
right, but I mean, still, it's Chinese aggression has become much more pronounced because the weakness breeds, bullies, right? So if you're weak and they know you're a victim, they're going to act out. So when Trump was president, right, he was very forceful, very direct. If he told you he was going to drop a bomb on your guy, he'd drop a fucking bomb on your guy. And you knew he would do it. He wasn't bluffing. He was saying shit that he would actually do, and he was damn well going to do it. And that has an effect on people, whether you're a strong man or not. I mean, look, Xi Jinping is no weak man. Neither is Putin. These are strong personalities, strong men. They don't get to that position without being that way. But that said, they recognize other strong men just as easily as they recognize weakness.
But I kind of agree. I kind of disagree too, in a way. Like, I don't find Biden. I don't know where the weak thing comes. Like, to me, with the Ukraine war, he's done everything short of send our soldiers there. I mean, he's basically gotten us involved in a war with Russia, just one step away from having soldiers there. To me, what Trump was more of a Teddy Roosevelt, or speak. Well, he didn't speak softly, so I shouldn't say that. But it was more about having the big stick, and
he wasn't afraid to tell you, listen, I have this big stick and I will use it.
Or Ronald Reagan, peace through strength, right? The idea was not strength to kick your ass.
He told Kim Jong-un, whatever, he told him, he's like, I have a button on my desk too, only mine works.
Yes, but Reagan said we needed to be strong in order to have a more peaceful world, right? It seems to me that Biden
peace through strength,
is very much in favor of us being strong and using it for. He hasn't used America's strength, in my opinion, for peaceful means.
No, why would he?
Well, I understand.
They want disorder. They want chaos. And
they do.
And you got to remember, a lot of Biden's policies aren't even Biden. It's Blinken. It's Obama.
Yeah, but he signs off
Susan
on it,
Rice,
Mike. But I think Trump. I think where his bravery was and where his strength was, is that he was willing to talk to anybody. I mean, the guy was willing to go and sit with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, and he did. And look what happened. What came out of it. It became very peaceful there.
So I do believe that there was less of a chance of Russia invading Ukraine if Trump were president. But I don't think it would have been out of fear of what Trump would do, because Trump's in control of the same military might that Biden is. I think it wouldn't have happened because I think Trump would have actually negotiated.
But that's just it. I don't think it's because of fear of Trump that Trump would bomb you. That's part of it, and that would work for a country like maybe Iran, a country like that. But when you talk about guys like Xi or Putin or even Kim Jong-un, what they recognize is that Trump is a deal maker.
Yeah,
right?
that's
he's willing to come to the table, and that's a huge deal. If these are countries that are just being sanctioned and sanctioned and sanctioned. Nobody's willing to talk to them, and behind closed doors, though, they're all want to take their money.
Right, because Trump's not going to nuke Moscow.
No,
any
of course not.
more
than
Biden would. So I don't think it's about a fear of, this guy's a madman.
No.
I think it was more respect. One of the problems that I think America has had in general, and Biden definitely, is that you can't be a peacemaker when you are completely on one side.
Yeah.
And where people like Trump was very pro-Israel, but the Arab nations trusted him.
Yeah.
And that's how he was able to get the Abraham Accords. Even though they knew he was pro-Israel and he put the capital back in Jerusalem and recognized the Golan Heights and did all these things that everybody thought was going to make the Arab world mad, but the Arab world didn't feel like Trump was against them. So he was able to play mediator. Well, Jared Kushner actually was the one out there doing it, but you know what I mean?
But
it was still Trump's policies.
It was his policies, yeah.
Yeah, and so now even with Russia-Ukraine, there can't be a negotiated peace because we've taken a side completely. So that's where I think Biden is different than Trump, and where I think Trump actually is right in his statement that we are headed towards World War III, and I do think that most of that blame is on Biden because... You can't be a peacemaker if you're completely on one side and just completely disparage the other.
Look at Biden. Biden takes office, right? We immediately have this bumbling, inept, unfortunately lethal withdrawal from Afghanistan, Then, you have an administration who bungles this thing to the worst possible degree, and then they wouldn't even accept fault, They kept shifting blame or trying to change the narrative or whatever. You know, it's been a bumbling regime the entire time he's been in office. It's been a hot mess disaster the whole time. So if you're a world leader, if I'm Xi, if I'm running China or I'm running Russia or whatever, why the hell wouldn't I act up? If I know the person running America is a complete hot mess retard, and you've got somebody as weak as Blinken or others.
But again, what do you mean by this? Is where I keep saying I disagree. What do you mean by weak? Like I believe Biden's shown.
It's
too
not
much
about.
strength.
Well, no, it's not about. It's not about shows of force, right?
Then
It's
what
not
do you
about
mean?
what they're willing to commit.
What do you mean by weak then?
I mean weak in policy, right? So they have weak policies. Their policies are disastrous. They're backwards. They don't make any sense. They undermine their own people and their own position constantly. That's a weak policy. That's a weak person. Weak people do weak things.
So you don't mean weak like wimp?
No, not at all.
Okay, then I misunderstood because that's what I
not
thought
at
you
all.
meant.
I don't think Biden's a wimp. I don't think that.
No, I think he's a fucking lunatic. To be honest with you.
Well, I do too. I think he spent a long time being wrong, and he's convinced he's right the entire time. He's a narcissistic psychopath. So I think he could potentially.
Remember what Bob Gates said? Bob Gates was worked for Obama and Bush, and he said Joe Biden's been wrong on every foreign policy decision for 50 years.
And he has been.
Yeah.
He's picked the wrong side every time.
Every time.
And I mean, he's proving it with this so-called presidency.
He was against the mission to kill Bin Laden.
Yeah.
He was. That's a fact, Mike.
I know.
That's a fact.
I know. I just think it's hysterical. Listen, killing Bin Laden was probably one of the best things this country's done in a very long time.
Yeah.
Did it really affect the overall? No. But did it make a?
It made
did
a
it
big
send
difference.
a damn message and make a big difference? Absolutely.
Especially for those of us who lived here in New York. Listen, I remember that night, and I was no fan of Barack Obama by any stretch. But I got to tell you something. When he came out that night and made that announcement, the hair on my arms was just standing up.
Yeah. I think most people, because you look at what it represented. I mean, how many thousands of people died? How many are still dying? I know. There's plenty of cops, EMS, everybody is still dying from the cancer from that stuff.
And unfortunately, with terrorist groups, it's the expression "chop off the head and the fish dies." It's not true for terrorist groups, unfortunately. You chop off the head and another one rises right up, and those
they're more like worms. You chop it and they just turn into two. Or
yeah. So killing Bin Laden, you're right. It didn't have a
strategic effect is not really there, but it does. It does send a very clear message, and it does demoralize the hell out of them.
Yeah, and I think
because it lets them know we can tap you anywhere you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for the 9/11 victims and their families, particularly, I think
they
it
were
maybe
owed
gave
that
a little
justice.
Closure.
Yeah, they were owed that justice. Absolutely, they were owed that justice.
So Obama, I didn't vote for you, but good job on that one, my man. Anyway, how do we get to that from what I said there?
We had a great conversation. That's how we got there. Get in the conversation. Right down there.
Right down there.
Jump in there.
The last one's not really a headline, so to speak. It's more a question I have for you on strategy, because I've heard a lot of this from your boy, Trump, in the last week or so, talking about Kamala Harris and using the word communist and socialist and so forth.
Sure.
Putting aside for a second the argument as to whether or not she is, do you think that's effective?
Oh, yeah.
In what way?
Well, he's tying her policies to communist policies, and a lot of them are communist-type, Marxist, communist-type policies, right? So, like price fixing, that's a very big socialist policy. It's a very
Nixon
big communist.
A socialist?
Well, no, but Nixon fixed prices too, but it's still very much a authoritarian kind of thing to do. Let's put it a little more accurately, I guess, right? But for everyday people, when they think of price fixing or like the government getting involved in things like that, traditionally, it honestly probably fall more under fascism, but most people assume or believe it to be a communist thing, like a Soviet bloc kind of thing.
But what I'm asking is, do you think that tag...
I think it works.
You do?
Because it's catchy. Now, he's been very, very good at like assigning these nicknames to them. And it does hurt them, It does hurt them, and you see it because you see it being repeated. And the biggest, I think, benefit he gets from that is that it's so salacious sometimes that it draws these responses. It forces them onto the back of their feet. It makes them defensive, because now she has to go out and try and prove she's not a communist. See, he's putting her on defense, and it gives him much more. It gives him free airtime, free publicity. It gives him free reach.
I guess.
And then if you hear him saying this, but then maybe you catch a piece of his other policies, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that. And you listen, you just turned somebody.
But the only thing I wonder is that for people our age and older and Trump's age, I think it hits. But I think for anybody under the age of 40, I think their response would be anything from, what's a communist? to who cares. Like, they didn't grow up in that world we grew up in.
I think they understand communism pretty well for the most part, or they believe they do, I should say, because I don't think they really understand what it really did.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? We lived through
the Cold War.
We know what communism did to the
world.
world.
The nuclear war drills.
But I think to the younger
yeah.
generation, it would almost be like, to us, somebody saying, your policies are like the Whigs. You know, or,
Tories.
You know, or something like that. Like, you know, to people under 40 who have no recollection of real communism, the only communist, really truly communist country left is North Korea, right? I mean, true, like, communist through and through.
Yeah,
China's
completely,
got
totally. China's got
a,
kind of a hybrid version.
Yeah, to them, it's a single party state, but it's, you know, their economy really can't be called communist, I don't think. Anyway,
no, it's not quite free market either. I mean, but it's like
it's
kind of like it's definitely like a hybrid kind of thing going on.
So I just don't know. I just don't know if it hit. I'm not saying he shouldn't say it. Obviously, you want to accuse
I think it does. I think
things.
at the very least, what he's going to get is his base, right? That MAGA base, those patriots, those people who, you know, kill a commie for mommy kind of people, right? That's gonna fire them up, and it is. It's gonna fire them up. It's gonna get them moving, get them fired up, and part of it is firing up the base. But the other part of it is, I mean, and look, and they have had to respond to it. He's brilliant with his framing in that way. He forces them to have to say something, to have to respond to it. And when you can force them to respond to it, now they're on a defensive. And
I don't
he's been
disagree.
doing it consistently. So
I don't
strategy-wise, I think it works.
I don't disagree.
And politics is what? I mean, Dan Bongino says it all the time, and he's absolutely right about it. I mean, he ran a bunch of races, so he knows it too, inside out. So, you know, it's politics and running a race. Elections are sound bites and you know, and photos, pictures.
Sure.
You know, and he's right. And this is a great sound bite that forces them back on their heels. And then that sound bite of them having to respond makes them look that much weaker.
It does. I don't disagree. I just, my own personal opinion is I think Trump's got to start spending more time talking about
Policy.
The next 4 years. He spends a lot of time talking about what happened when he was president, which is great because he should remind people of how things were better.
He's showing a disparity, contrasting it. Yeah, absolutely.
100% he should do that.
Absolutely.
I do think he's spending too much time with the name calling, and communist is part of that. He could do all of that. I just wish he'd spend more. He's got to start talking about what he's going to do for the next 4 years.
And you get that in the interviews. So if you go back and you actually, like, if you look at the interviews he does, that's where you'll see like more policy discussion. You'll see more talking about the next 4 years.
Yeah,
whereas
and you see the more human side of him too. Now.
Oh yeah, talking about his brother dying.
I mean, he just did a podcast with Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, and talking about alcohol. And that's why he doesn't.
And you know, he's a very charming guy, and he's a great conversationalist in those settings.
He's a smart guy. He's very sincere. He's very empathetic. He's very like raw and honest.
Yeah. Listen to the Theo Vaughn podcast.
Oh, that was that was epic. That was a great interview.
It's this past weekend, I think, is the title of his podcast, and he just had. And it wasn't really an interview, Mike. It was more just like a conversation.
Well, that's exactly what it was. It was like a conversation between the two of them, and it was great. But you know, he's an exceptional person in a lot of ways, right? And he makes it very clear. But I think that he's on the right track. But I think if you want to hear policy and like his plans for the future and all that stuff, you listen to like the interviews or like the conversations he has like in those settings. Whereas if you want to hear like the name calling or like the kind of the red meat for the base kind of stuff, that comes out of the rallies. But the rallies get more media attention because the media are trying to the media trying to paint him a certain way.
Yes, and that's
so
what I'm saying.
So they ignore him talking about this intelligent policy that actually is a brilliant idea, and they spend more time talking about, look, he's calling this one a name again.
Yes. So, but he's got to learn how to overcome that somehow, just like other Republican nominees have.
I think he does. I think he does pretty well.
I just think he's spending too much time saying this never would have happened if I was president, that never would have happened if I was president, instead of saying, here's how I'm going to fix it. You know, here's how I'm going to fix it.
He does say it, but it just doesn't get as much airtime.
I mean, and
for two reasons. One, because the media is never going to give him that kind of credit. And two, because the base, a lot of the base, and this is just a reality of the base right now, is, you know, they're angry. Yeah. So they want the name calling. They want those salacious moments.
Yeah, but they're going to vote for him anyway, Mike.
Right,
He's
but they're the ones,
people that might vote for him.
Right, but the base are the ones that are actually amplifying that. Right, they're the ones grabbing and amplifying. He called her a commie.
Yes.
Right. So that kind of, you know, all those two things combined. So you got the media here and the base here doing that. It kind of overshadows the whole actual policy he's talking about here.
But I don't really hear him talking much about it. I just think he needs to somehow get that out.
It's out there. There's plenty of videos. I watch all the time. I mean, there's plenty of interviews out there.
But it's not out there in the mainstream. He's got to get out in the mainstream.
And that's what I'm saying. Is the media.
Maybe on Twitter. He's got to overcome the media. You can't...
Well, that's what he did. I mean, look at Elon Musk. 2 hours of it.
Yes.
That was all policy.
Yes, and that's fine. But there's got to be more of it. Again, I want to know, instead of telling me Russia never would have invaded Ukraine if you were president, tell me exactly how do you plan to solve this now. Instead of saying, October 7th never would have happened if I was president. Because those are hypotheticals. I just think, again, he needs to try to get his message out more about what he's going to do if we elect. Because that, in my opinion, Mike, is why people elect someone. They elect someone based on what they think that person is going to do.
Sure, that's
Not
if you're
what they did
either
in
a
the
single
past.
party or a general overall, but that's what you're going to vote for. So I want more fiscal conservatism. I want more conservative policy, whatever. So I'm going to vote for this conservative over here because that's what I think he's going to do.
So, and that's what I think he just needs to do a little bit more. I don't really.
I think he's been doing a
mind
lot of
doing
it. I just think it gets overshadowed by all the rallies and the salacious stuff, that kind of red meat that the base likes somewhat, somewhat right now.
But like I said, the base gonna vote for him anyway.
I agree.
Even he said it. He could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they're gonna vote for him.
He probably could.
And he's not wrong.
Well, look, Marion Barry, right? D.C. mayor.
Oh my
goes
God.
to jail for
Remember that
crack
guy?
and corruption, all that stuff, comes back, becomes mayor again.
Remember that guy? They had freaking videos of the guy with crack cocoine and
With the hooker and
He was
everybody
like
in the
the
hotel
original
room.
Hunter Biden. Except he won an election.
That's Hunter's uncle.
All right.
Hunter's real daddy.
Anyway, those are the 5 headlines. Mike's raw reactions. What's your reactions? Comment down there.
Yeah, give us your comments. Give us your thoughts. Let us know your 5 reactions. Let us know if you agree, disagree, what you think. Give us your thoughts. We truly and honestly want to hear. We
Tell
do.
them to subscribe.
Don't subscribe. No. Subscribe. Hit the subscribe button so you can keep following us and hearing these crazy ass conversations. No. Get involved. Let's make this an interactive thing. We don't want it just to be us educating you or just throwing stuff at you every day. We actually want to hear. We want to interact with you. We want to have these kinds of conversations and build this thing out.
And we will.
To
We'll
be
respond.
bigger
We'll
conversations.
respond to you on the video. And you know what, Mike? Maybe if we get let's say if we get 100 subscribers, we'll pick one of them at random to take a tour of our farm.
Oh, there you go. You can come meet the Dirt Road Farm. It's deceptive.
Have a
You
good
no
night.
idea. Good night, guys. All right. Like, subscribe, share, get involved in the conversation. Thank you.